Imagine, you're all alone, stranded on a spacecraft light years away from home, with absolutely no idea where you even are anymore. A misjump, an error in either judgment or maintenance. You're by yourself, in a vessel that barely functions, nothing but your own hands and some basic resources. So you go about trying to fix what you can. Except you're not quite alone. As you're going about fixing what machinery of your ship you can, your communication suddenly goes online. An unlikely friend, an alien machine contacts you with an offer of help, some resources they can spare, a basic translation package, and a program for your ship's computer that allows you to connect to the Hypernet, the galactic community's internet analog. They bid you farewell and go on their way, unable or unwilling to give you much more help. But now you're in possession of enough materials to fix the rest of your ship to the point that you can re-engage the warp drive and try to find your way in this mess you have found yourself in. Gathering resources for continual maintenance of your ship, searching for information, whether by exploring the planets and stations you find across your way, or by surfing the Hypernet. Making friends, looking through alien memes, discovering things even they hadn't encountered before, and overall, making your way in the galaxy. This will be Lost Polaris. Who am I, you might ask? Or you might not, but either way, that is indeed a question. And no, not much importance to tell you the truth, though you might call me System Searcher. I've taken a gander at many digital art forms, mostly because I can stick to one and keep bouncing back and forth. And after years of experimentation and learning, I finally gathered enough motivation and knowledge to start on a project. Took me a little while, to be honest, but at last I settled on one that'd be simple enough to work on, yet fun enough to actually be worth the hassle. And now that you know a little bit more about who I am, onto the progress that I've had so far. It ain't much, but it's also not too little. Before everything else, we had to implement the basics. So, let us start with the basics then. Movement. Some tweaks to Godot's baseline movement script, add smoothing to all movement, make the camera lean based on your local speed, add some thunks and twanks when you fall far enough a distance, nuke half the work you've done on the script and replace it with a state machine, and voila! We have a basic player movement controller. Now, for zero gravity it gets a little bit trickier. At first I wanted to just reuse the same code from the ship controller I'll describe later, but actually made earlier. But I kept running into issues. First, I had to deal with it being inverted in several hard-to-fix ways, due to the way the ship controller works. Then I ran into a weird issue that wasn't there when I was making the ship controller. Rotation kept snapping up and ceasing to work entirely when it went 90 degrees up or down. In the end, the solution proved to be far simpler than I ever expected. Turns out there's just straight up a ready-made set of methods for local rotation in Godot. But boy, did it have a lot of time to figure that out. It also took me a little while to decide how the ship would function in the first place. I had two primary ideas I was fiddling around with. One, the ship moves around in a world, and the player and everything else in it that has physics are parented to it so that the physics operate relative to the ship. The problem with this approach is that I wasn't entirely certain how well the physics would behave in such a situation. Could be that I'd spend days dealing with things conking about endlessly. 2. The ship is split into two halves, the interior and the exterior. The interior has all the actual rooms of the ship. The exterior is what actually moves around in the world, and when the player gets into the airlock, they get teleported to the interior, which is some 50 billion miles away from the rest of the map. The issue there would be in setting things up so that the world outside the exterior gets transmitted to the interior accurately, while also preserving performance. I've had some ideas on how to achieve that. And then both of these options were put in the dumpster because a friend gave me the idea of doing the ship stays where it is and the engines move the universe around it trick. That way, the ship and all the relevant physics remain static, serving as an eternal zero in the coordinate system, thus preventing any potential confusion while still keeping the ship in place. And then of course I spent a day fiddling around with the setup because it turned out that moving the universe is easy as piss, but rotating the universe is another matter entirely. Made me learn some things about the Godot engine. It did, but in the end I got it working on all axes. This is about the progress I've had since beginning this project. Rather basic, I know, but I feel like many devloggers neglect to talk about the nitty-gritty and where most projects actually start out. And besides, might as well document a bit of my history as a game developer along the way too, in case this project doesn't pan out, right? Next time I'll probably have added some interactivity and a more proper setup for switching between the different modes than just pressing a button on your keyboard. But my process is a bit chaotic, so for all I know I'll have somehow managed to develop the HyperNet system instead, or maybe rework the entire devlog setup I've been using for this video. And with that, it's all for now. Thank you for watching. I hope the next devlog will come out sooner than this one, as I'd have gotten a much better grasp on the tools. Apparently making videos is harder than coding games, who would've known. Anyway, goodbye and adios, and I'll see y'all in the abyss below.